Hello, I'm Michael Magee and this is my debut novel, Close to Home. It's about a young man, a young university graduate who returns home to Belfast from Liverpool and falls back in with the crowd of friends that he grew up with and falls into the old habits, I guess. And one night at a house party, he gets into a bit of an argument that results in an assault. And I guess the rest of the book is about him coming to terms with what he did while also trying to navigate the precarious existence of a university graduate who's unable to get a job or a stable place to live. There was nothing to it. I swung and hit him and he dropped. A girl came flying forward and pushed me. "What did you do that for?" The lad was lying there and I was standing over him and there were people all around me making noise. By the time I got away from the tussle, 2 Land Rovers had pulled up. A jaded looking peeler with a receding hairline came towards me. "Is that blood?" he said, pointing to a stain on my shirt that could have been anything. He took my name and number and told me he would be in touch. I held my hands up and said that was no problem. "The lad came at me," I said. I didn't know what to do. At the top of the street, the lad was put on a stretcher, and the stretcher was heaved into the back of an ambulance. "I think it's best you make your way home," the peeler said. I decided he was a good peeler, a helpful peeler. "We'll be in touch," he said, and I thanked him. "Thanks very much," I said. Back at the flat, Ryan had his phone in his face and was pacing up and down the living room, looking for a party. But it was 5 o'clock in the morning and the birds were out. He pulled the blinds closed as if that would help and nearly took the window with him, the brightness. I grabbed the purple throw Mama had given us as a moving in present and pulled it over my head. I lay with my head on the pillow and stared through the space between the empty bottles. Ryan checked the fridge, the cupboard next to the fridge. He lifted a can from the counter and gave it a shake. "I give up," I said. "Give up? You haven't done fuck all. I'm going to bed." "Fuck's sake, Sean, don't leave me hanging here." "I'm not leaving you anywhere, I'm in the next room." "Bounce into my bed, sure. We'll watch a film." "We need to stop doing this." "Doing what? Come on." The window above the bed was open and the breeze wafted through. I stripped down to my boxers and climbed under the covers but stayed on the outside so I could creep into my own bed as soon as Ryan passed out. The wall was black with mould and it made the room smell damp. There were clothes all over the place, takeaway cartons, cups and glasses and empty cans. Ryan smoked too much weed, that's what it was. It made him lazy. It made him not give up Alex. I said to him, "You smoke too much of that shit," and took the spliff off him. He didn't care. He was sinking into it nicely, and he had his favourite film on, The Shawshank Redemption. He made me watch it every time we ended up like this. It gave him hope. "Watch this," he said. It was that scene he loved, the one where Andy Dufresne arrives at the penitentiary and all the inmates are going mad, screaming at him, calling him and the rest of the newcomers fresh fish. I didn't think much of Andy the first time I laid eyes on him. That was Ryan's favourite line. He thought it was brilliant. I did too. Never judge a book by its cover. That's what that means. Never judge anybody, because you never know. The next morning, or later that morning, whatever way you want to put it, somebody was at the door. I rolled on my side and tried to go back to sleep, but Ryan was up. He was shaking me. And he was like, "That doesn't sound good." I sat up on the edge of the bed. It was better to do these things in stages, and watched Ryan lean with his ear against the door. "Sounds like there's a few of them," he said. "Men?" "Aye, men." I looked out the window and saw a car parked up at the front of the block. The driver's side door was open. I heard a radio. Not the kind that played music, the other one. "It's not the peelers," Ryan said. "How do you know?" "Because I would have shouted. They always shout." The knocking stopped. Footsteps echoed out the hall and were gone. The living room was a state. There were fag butts everywhere, spilled drink. Some dirty bastard had been flicking ice in the bottle caps, and the bottle caps had fallen on the floor. I brushed and mopped and got rid of the empties. Then I sat for a minute and looked out the window. We had a good view. The flat was on the 4th floor, so we could see right over the rooftops, the Casement Park, and the mountain. You can't miss the mountain. It's everywhere you go. Every street and road in West Belfast. You can't get away from it. Whoever's writing those messages up there knows fine rightly as well. They couldn't have picked a better spot. Today, it was a massive tricolour, and underneath it, they had written the words, "End Internment." "Who do you think it was?" Rand said. "Dunno. Dissidents." "Why would dissidents be calling here?" "I thought you meant the mountain." Rand looked out the window. "That's not dissidents, you rocket." "Who is it then?" "Fuck knows. Could be anyone," he said. Then he clapped his hands. "It's the Illuminati. The Illuminati have infiltrated the Ra." He opened the fridge and stared at the empty shelves. The acne on his back was getting worse. The pimples had gone purple and bubbled under the skin. 6 months in the gym will do that. And the steroids he'd been injecting into his arse cheeks every other day. You could see it in his face, the puffiness, the jacked up redness around his neck and shoulders. "We need food," he said. "Have you cash?" "Do a fuck. Spunked everything last night." "Me too." I boiled the kettle and brought it with me into the bathroom. Filled the sink with hot water and topped it up with cold. The boiler was broke. There was no heat in the radiators, no hot water, and it wasn't like we could phone the landlord and ask him to sort it out. He went bankrupt and did a runner to Spain, leaving a load of properties to be repossessed. That's why we didn't answer the door that morning. It could have been someone looking to turf us out. I started on my hair, giving it a good go with shampoo. I used a cup to rinse the suds and got the splash in my balls and torso. Then I sat on the edge of the bath and looked at my hand. The knuckles weren't swollen and my fingers were all intact. I made a fist and stared at it, then at my arm right up to the shoulder, where the thin lines of my tribal tattoo were so black they looked blue. I need to get out of this, I thought. I didn't know what this was.